Hello and welcome to Inside Music Curation. We are back. We've got part of our Feed Media Group Curation team, a subgroup of our team, Team Dirty Wordz, joining us today. We've got Matt and Mike. Thank you so much for coming online. And we've also got our VP of CX, we've got Kristie Wells joining us because today we are talking about clean versus explicit. And on Inside Music Curation, we're talking about all things music curation, most often music curation for businesses, because that's what we do here at Feed Media Group. And one of the topics that comes up, well, every time we have a new customer is, where are we drawing the line between clean versus explicit content and lyrics in the songs that these brands are putting out? So it's going to be a great conversation today. Really exciting to dig into this topic. You know, when you're again curating for brands, it's different, right? It's different than what you are comfortable listening to personally. This is putting music behind your brand, putting your best foot forward, understanding your audience, their comfort levels. So let's just dive in a little bit. And first of all, maybe Matt or Mike, you can talk a little bit about how Team Dirty Wordz came to exist within the curation team.
Please go for it, Matt.
Oh man, how did we come to exist? Yeah, it's something that's obviously really important. Like Melissa said, we curate stations for businesses, and as a business, you know, everyone has different standards of what they're comfortable their clients hearing. Some businesses want things to be very, very family friendly, very kid friendly, and others, you know, their clientele, they're okay with lots of explicit words because they're all adults. And you know, initially we would ask them about, hey, do you need clean versions of songs, censored versions, or are you okay with explicit? And you know, it's not super specific all the time, which makes it really tricky. You know, if the client's okay with certain words and not okay with certain words. So we realized, hey, we need a much more in-depth sort of rating system that we can offer up for clarity's sake for our clients, and then also for us on our team as we grow our client base. We need to be able to quickly know this client is okay with, you know, with this rating. So we really saw a need for, you know, diving in a little bit deeper than just something's clean or something's not clean, so that we can provide a lot of clarity for our team internally and externally for our clients.
Well,
That's kind of been the big challenge for us.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because right now in the world of music, Mike, right, there's clean and there's explicit. That's you know, possibly black and white, or maybe not really. Tell me about what those ratings look like.
That's what you're getting. I mean, you know, in terms of where you're hearing music, right? You know, especially right now that where the DSPs are the biggest place. You know, more so even now than terrestrial radio, arguably. But those DSPs, the Spotify's and the Apple Musics of the world, they're playing like neutral it up to the record labels, or if you're an independent artist, leaving it up to the artist, leaving it up to the management to determine whether or not the song that they're going to put out is explicit. You know, so you can market as explicit or not, and so there's no real you can't really use that, you know, with for what we're doing. So that's why we need to go through and sort of set our own standard here. And I think we're probably, you know, the first company to really dig that deep, you know, for in terms of, you know, really just really digging in. I mean, there's so many, and we'll get into it, I guess, too. But you know, there's so many examples of things that, you know, could be deemed explicit and not. There's the context situation as well. It's yeah.
Well, I think that's really surprising, just on an industry level, right? Like in the film and TV industry, obviously we've got PG-13. In music, it's clean versus explicit. Artists are the one who decide. There's really no regulation involved unless it goes to radio, which I imagine somebody's screening those.
Yeah, there's, you know, radio has to abide by, you know, FCC regulations, and you know, even before George Carlin, you know, brought up the seven dirty words, the seven deadly words. It was arbitrary then, but then they used George Carlin's comedy sketch as the rule. So that's what radio follows. Those seven dirty words. That's it. But that's not deep enough for businesses.
And Kristie, maybe you can speak a little bit to why maybe just picking 7 words to avoid might not be enough for a business.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, well, and those 7 words actually could be okay for certain customers that are streaming in, say, a workout or in a class, because a lot of times I don't think their subscribers are really paying attention to the lyrics. And so I think those 7 dirty words they're broad, but they're actually not broad enough because there's variations of those words. There's also a lot more that come into our language with regards to, and you'll see in just a little bit too, right? Like I think you've got to expand the list, because as the language expands, we come to find that artists can be very creative with some of the language and the words that they use. And so we have to do a really good job of ensuring that we provide that visibility into our customers so that they're comfortable with the words that they're being presented and the music that we're sharing.
Tell me a little bit about some of the contextual examples of maybe songs that, if you're just looking for specific words to leave out, like what are some things that businesses might miss if they're not looking into the context of songs?
I think there's a lot of examples of innuendo with lyrics, right? You're saying something without saying it. we see that a lot in music. I think there are a lot of explicit words, yes, but also kind of part of our rating system is that we're also screening for context, and not just the words, but what the words are meaning in the context of the song. So if something is extremely, let's say, sexually explicit, it doesn't necessarily have to have a bunch of dirty words to be sexually explicit, or a graphic use of drugs, or a graphic anything else. So that's also something that we're taking into account with how we're kind of rating these songs. It's not just like, does it say the F word or any other word? It's maybe this line is expressing something that might be sexually suggestive and isn't appropriate for a kid or a child or a family.
Well, I think, can I just jump in here too? I think that's where this whole rubric that they put together, it's just, there's a lot of genius behind it, because like me, a lot of times I will sing along to a song. I know the words, but I'm actually not thinking about what the words mean, because I'm like more intent on the beat, right? Or the melody going on. But as a brand, I've spent the last decade or so doing everything I can to protect my image, my reputation. And then all of a sudden you have these songs coming out that maybe would be okay for somebody in their 30s or 40s. But if you have a younger audience who actually are singing along the words, it's really just not appropriate. And so I think that context piece, actually, I feel is even more important than the list of naughty words. To your point, that started with 7, there's hundreds out there that exist nowadays that are probably on a list that should be considered, whether or not you feel it's appropriate for your brand. But the context for me is where that's the secret sauce, right? And that's where, like, Mike and Matt can talk about the amount of work that goes into reviewing every single song that has ever been written and produced, and being able to identify that and call that out so that our customers have, again, increased visibility into what is actually being shared under their brand.
So yeah, give us just a little peek behind the curtain of what goes into this process. And maybe we're not reviewing every song, but every song that goes into one of our customers' channels, there's a QA process involved, and how are we looking at applying this?
Yeah, well, we've got a stellar QA team, a customer success team, who listen to literally every song that goes into a playlist for our customers, and they are awesome. Like, if it was up to me, forget it. Like, I'd probably space out, start thinking about other things. Like, oh, my laundry, I gotta go get, like, and you forget this team, they catch so much stuff that I'd be like, oh, I forgot that song is about that. Whoa, hang on, let's pull that one. So they're great, and thank God for them.
And Matt, tell me a little bit about what the rating system looks like at this point.
Yeah, so it is still somewhat new for us on the team. We've kind of been tasked this last quarter with establishing it, and we've got it pretty much established, and we're going to start the rollout very soon. But it's kind of follows your similar MPAA guidelines, G, PG, PG-13, R, and then we also have NC-17. So we tried to we took those our universal terms as far as understanding of what they mean and apply them to songs in our feed library.
That's great. And then Kristie, how are we working with our customers to identify, where they stand and how are we approaching those conversations?
Yeah, it's a great question, Melissa. Thank you. So we're actually just it's one-on-one conversations with each of our customers, like kind of reviewing. We've always used, in the past, it's been clean or explicit. And a lot of times somebody will say, like, I'm okay with explicit language in pop songs, but not in hip hop. Because again, depending on the genre, that explicitness can actually go pretty extreme. And so, we've always had that moniker of like, but then we start sharing them what certain pop songs are actually explicit, can go pretty extreme as well. And so these are really personalized per customer, per genre, per modality that they're using. We also find like it's okay sometimes in a boxing class to have really explicit language, but it's not okay in a yoga class, right? So we're having these conversations, and now with this rubric, it actually gives us a better tool for us to go and very clearly say word by word, based on these various levels, like you might be okay with this word, but you're not okay with this. And so it's actually going to have to, even though they're in the same category, we're going to have to walk you back to say, instead of going PG-13, we're going to stick you with PG because it's a little cleaner version of everything. And so I'm actually really excited to have these conversations with our customers because, again, it's the special work that we're doing to be able to help them protect their brand and open up these conversations because, again, we don't know if it's a 10-year-old working at a stretching class with their parents or, it's a 70-year-old person who's like, I'll, listen to whatever, it doesn't matter. And so for us, because we need to know who they're talking to and all that, we need to be able to provide this guidance to them.
And I think
do many
also,
customers come in knowing what they want, or is it more of a guided exploration?
I think most people feel like they know what they want. And then as we start to roll the music out within those guidelines, we're constantly tweaking it because, again, like I said, when you're looking at explicitness in pop, a lot of it's clean. You can kind of get the, but every once in a while you'll have like a couple of rappers or some of these other stars that come out that are still pop category, but the lyrics and the suggestiveness is actually gone to the extreme level. And we're like, again, they're fun and they're great to listen to and sing along with, but is that the type of music that you really wanted for that specific class? Or do we need to kind of scroll it back a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about somebody exercising, when you're exercising and doing digital, like, do you have kids around while you're doing that? Not only who is the end user, but what environment are they in and what options do they want to have? And are many of our customers offering options, clean stations, for example, if they're offering different types of music options within the app?
They can.
Yeah.
We can set that up for them. Sure. Yeah. I don't know if any of them have really thought about it enough yet, but I think once we do, bring this new rubric to our current clients and future clients, they might go, you know what? I think we're going to be good with R, but can we also get a clean set of stations as well and give our customers the option, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's another big point, kind of alluding to that and what Kristie was saying too, is like, when we can be really clear about what each rating and the songs that will fall into that are, a customer can say we're okay with this or up to this point. And I think, it also provides a lot more, it opens up a lot more of our catalog, right? We can find censored versions of certain songs that will fit. If it's an R song, it might be able to be censored enough to be a PG song, but there might be one instance of one word that for some reason doesn't get censored out. And so that makes it a PG-13. So if we can say, to a customer, hey, are you okay with this? Then they can say sure, and we can open up just more options to them, right, with every rating. So I think having that clarity and making it really precise for each rating is going to be a really effective tool for us and for our clients as well.
And I think the environment, sorry, Melissa, just real quick, just to kind of tally on to what you were just saying too, the environment is super important to consider as well. Because to your point, like I might actually, like I won't have kids in my home, so I'm fine listening to these songs as an end user of a service, right? I love these songs. I know them. I can sing along, but then I'm going to go, several of our clients are going into the corporate wellness environment, right? So all of a sudden that same music's being played in an office building. And while I, as an end user in my home, was totally cool with this music, it may actually not be appropriate in that type of environment. And so our customers need to consider all the different situations in which this music will be played and the audiences and who's going to be listening to it, and take that into account.
100%. Yeah. I was just going to show an example. Should we show the PG example? Would that be helpful? All right. So we've got G, very family friendly. And then in PG, right, we've got some examples of some of the words that might creep up in those songs. Any other context we can add to this?
Well, just on like the Ed Sheeran song for me, right? Like I sing along to that all the time. It's catchy little, as most of his music is. And there's no specific, sorry, Matt and Mike, I jumped in there, but for me, like there's no specific naughty words, but it's very suggestive. And so I think that, for most brands, it'd be okay. And I think that they'd be okay with that as well too. But that's where we're talking about the context. That's really important. It's not just this list of the specific words, but it's the context too.
Yeah, and with the other kind of example on this slide, the Olivia Rodrigo song, this is an example of a song where if it was uncensored would actually fall into the R category, because it has, there's one instance of the F word, which is listed on our R rating. But we do have a censored version of this song where she doesn't say that. And it does say like a damn sociopath. So, the rest of that song can definitely fall into the PG rating, but it's an example of where a censored version we can use, whereas an uncensored version we would not be able to use if a client said, hey, we can only have PG.
Right. Well, and that I think brings up an interesting topic about, music that's being created and opportunities for artists to, have a further reach as we look at new, revenue streams, new streaming opportunities. The opportunities are endless for the right music. And while there's certainly going to be plenty of spaces for uncensored artistic freedom, I think as an up and coming artist, it's something to think about. If you want your music to be included in something, in a business setting, in digital fitness, in retail, what options are you offering out? Are you offering a clean version? Are you, simply choosing your words carefully? I mean, we just had, Lizzo just re-released a song based on feedback that she got, and I commend her for that. So I think it's an interesting time to be an artist as well, and looking at your options for, having the widest reach.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day too. I mean, I had a conversation with the GM of a pretty big artist management company, and we were talking. I was, explaining about, what we do at Feed, and he was asking about, well, are you using my artist clients' music? And I'm like, yeah, but you know what, man, you're leaving a lot of money on the table by not having your artists release censored versions of your songs. We can't use the explicit versions for almost all of our clients. So it's all it takes is censoring a couple of words and marking it censored and putting it out that way. It's not going to cannibalize from your streams or sales anywhere else. Again, you're leaving money on the table by not.
Yeah, and you get all for artistic freedom, also, all for opportunities for artists to, make money from their music as well.
Yeah. I think, just to tack on is like, in the digital fitness space, which is obviously one that we at Feed do a lot of curating for, there's labels that came out like Universal and Warner saying digital fitness is a gold mine for streaming for their artists. So again, if you're an artist who's releasing a song and you want it to be used kind of widely, you have to, like Melissa said, choose your words carefully, or release versions that are censored enough that can be, enjoyed by audiences of all ages.
Awesome. So yes, I mean, in our case, again, we've got this amazing team of professional curators that are creating stations for our customers, and we've got our QA team that literally listen to every single songs. For businesses out there trying to do it themselves, or for anyone else, like, is there any advice that you would put forward, or anything else we want to leave folks with on this conversation, which I'm sure will be continued?
It's really hard to do it on your own, I think, is the it's the thing to think about, right? There's so many obviously this is just the explicitness portion of it, but there's even that is very complex. So that's one thing that I think we've all learned working
Very
here.
subjective, right? Know your audience, have
Yes.
a brand voice, understand what your comfort level is. And do you want to learn your comfort level by, getting complaints? Or do you want to learn your comfort level by, doing the work up front, working with folks to set expectations and really putting your best foot forward? Awesome. Kristie, anything else to add about, how our customers or potential clients can look at this topic?
Sorry, I just had a little tickle in my throat. Perfect timing. Yeah, I think it's, the benefit that our customers have is we have this incredible curation team available to guide them along the way. And so for me, it's just like, open that up and making sure they know that it's not just also set it and forget it. Like, we are constantly reviewing the catalogs and finding new music for them, and also evaluating, what makes the most sense based on their subscribers' information and feedback. And so I feel grateful to have access to like musical geniuses on our team who can be there constantly iterating and making these available to our customers.
Yeah. I mean, curating music for businesses, it's an ongoing optimization. These guys are going into stations every month and freshening, putting in new tracks, taking out old tracks. And again, it's a conversation that continues. I think explicitness is very subjective. And so it's working with each customer to understand what they're comfortable with, what they're not. I think, coming up with this rating system is certainly going to make this easier for us to execute on moving forward. And hopefully help guide these customer conversations to, catch any, potential problems before they happen. And again, just all be on the same page. And it's a good service. So thank you guys for putting in all of this work, and to Team Dirty Wordz. Juan, sorry you couldn't be here today, also a member of the team, but it's really important work that you guys are doing, and a conversation that, again, I'm sure we will be continuing as we learn even more about, the gray areas between clean, explicit, applying ratings, and helping businesses use music in a way that best reflects their brand. Awesome. Thanks, you guys. It's Inside Music Curation. We are from Feed Media Group. If you'd like to learn more about our music solutions for businesses, check us out at feedmediagroup.com. We're back here every other Wednesday talking about all things music curation. Thanks, Matt, Mike, Kristie. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks.